So for the fourth panel session, I would like to call on the chairperson, Honorable Justice Owe Ipaye. She's the admin judge, Lagos State Judiciary. Please let's give her a round of applause. Okay, I understand that she will join us very soon. So I'll be calling on the speaker to deliver a paper on how AJR can provide SMEs quicker, more affordable, and access to justice. The speaker is Chief Emeka Akajigo Obegolu, SAN. He's the President, Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who is ably represented by Mrs. Aisha Ado Abdullahi. She's the Vice President, Legal, Abuja Chamber of Commerce. Please let's give her a round of applause. Please let's give her a round of applause as she approaches the podium. Thank you. I'd like to call on the moderator for this panel session, Mr. Gabriel Idaosa, who is the President, Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He's ably represented by Mr. Fubara Anga, SAN. Mr. Fubara is the founding partner and head, Aviation and Shipping Group, Alex Partners. You're welcome, sir. Please let's give him a round of applause. Okay, I understand the chairperson is here now. Honorable Justice Owe Ipaye, the admin judge, Lagos State Judiciary. You're welcome, my lady. I'll call on Mrs. Bukola Smith. She's the Managing Director, FSDH Merchant Bank. Mrs. Bukola Smith, please give her a round of applause. You're welcome. I'd also like to call on Dr. Jumoke Ojuwole, OON. She is the Special Advisor to the President on Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, PEBEC. She is ably represented by Ameya Belinda Okwebolu, who is the Senior Reform Leader at the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council. You're welcome. Please let's give her a round of applause. And finally, I would call on Mrs. Oluwafumilayo Eric Shobukola. She's the head of business support, Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. You're very much welcome to this program. Please let's give her a round of applause as well.
Okay. My lords and my ladies, ladies and gentlemen, learned silks, I'm not sure because I'm just coming in, so I'm not sure the existing protocol or all the important dignitaries that are here. But I say good evening to you all. And I would just use the opportunity to might as well stand on all the existing protocols that may have been established. I am the chairperson for this last and final session. But before I call on our guest speaker, there's a young lady to my right. I didn't get her name, but I understand that she's representing Dr. Emeka Obegbolu. Dr. Emeka Obegbolu is the president of the Abuja Chamber of Commerce. And I have had the privilege of reading his presentation. He has a lot of interesting ideas. But I'll just give the paper presenter the microphone so she can deliver his paper.
Thank you very much, my lord. I would like to stand. Good afternoon, my lords and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This is usually the worst time to be speaking or to be having a discussion, but we're going to do our best to make it as engaging as possible. My name is Aisha Ado Abdullahi, as I was introduced. I am the Vice President Legal of Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and I am representing the President. I will be reading out his speech. Thank you. Wherever I say I, it of course means he. I am pleased to be making a presentation on enhancing access to justice for small and medium enterprises, SMEs, through quicker and more affordable alternative dispute resolution solutions at this epoch-making inaugural summit of all multi-door courthouses and ADR stakeholders in Nigeria, with the theme ADR as a panacea for speedy resolution of commercial disputes. I will be presenting a critical issue that affects not only the success of small and medium enterprises, but also the broader economic landscape of our region. This is especially in light of the important role that small and medium-sized enterprises play in driving economic growth, innovation, and job creation in Nigeria and across the globe. Small and medium enterprises contribute significantly to Nigeria's economy. They account for approximately 48% of the country's gross domestic product, GDP, according to reports by the Small and Medium Enterprise Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN. SMEs also contribute about 96% of businesses and 84% of employment in this country. This sector plays a crucial role in job creation and overall economic growth in Nigeria. Access to justice is essential to ensure business growth and sustainability for SMEs, which form the backbone of economic development, especially in emerging economies. You will agree with me that founding and running an SME in Nigeria is challenging. Beside economic pressure of the SME occasioned by taxation and other financial issues, there exist several disputes that SMEs encounter at different stages in their lifespan, including the day-to-day running of their businesses. Many of these disputes have been submitted to the courts for litigation. These disputes take many forms, such as contractual claims for non-performance or breach of contract, claims from disgruntled employees, claims regarding business interruption or disruption, internal disagreements between founders, to mention a few. Access to justice is a fundamental right. Yet, for SMEs, navigating the complexities of the legal system can be daunting, time-consuming, and prohibitively expensive. I do not doubt that there is a consensus at IDEM among stakeholders here that if we must address these challenges, we must do so by enhancing access to justice through quicker and more affordable solutions. Traditional litigation is not always the best or most efficient solution, as it can be costly, lengthy, particularly for SMEs seeking to move their businesses forward and not be bogged down by legal disputes. Litigation can tarnish public perception of a small business enterprise, which could also be damaging in the process of establishing its reputation. For SMEs, the prospect of engaging in a protracted legal battle can be overwhelming. Legal fees, court costs, and the risk of losing business during extended dispute can deter these enterprises from seeking justice. Instead, many may choose to remain silent, swallowing losses that could have been mitigated. Fortunately, alternative forms of dispute resolution can offer affordable ways to resolve the disputes. The Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, where he is currently serving as president, has as its principal objective the promotion of economic and industrial development within the FCT, Federal Capital Territory in particular, and Nigeria in general. In a bid to achieve our objectives, ACCI established a dispute resolution center for the provision of alternative for the provision of alternative means of resolving disputes for its members and the public, thereby helping them to avoid the hassles associated with law enforcement and traditional litigation. The center has since then been adopted by the National Association of Chambers of Commerce, Industry, Mines, and Agriculture, NACIMA, as the National Dispute Resolution Center, known as the Nigerian Chambers of Commerce Dispute Resolution Center, for all chambers of commerce in Nigeria to benefit from. In setting up the center, ACCI was very particular about ensuring that the scale of fees for arbitrators and administrative expenses is greatly subsidized, especially because a good percentage of the chamber's membership is made up of small businesses and startups. This subsidization was therefore incorporated into the Nigerian Chambers of Commerce Dispute Resolution Center's rules on costs and fees. To fully appreciate how ADR can benefit SMEs, it is essential to recognize their unique needs compared to larger corporations. SMEs often lack the financial legal resources to engage in court cases, which can be lengthy and expensive. Their disputes are often focused on preserving business relationships, managing costs, and securing quick resolutions. ADR methods must hence be tailored to benefit SMEs through the provision of sector-specific ADR services that reflect the realities of SMEs in various industries, such as technology, agriculture, retail, and others, allowing for dispute resolution processes that understand the unique challenges these sectors face. ADR for SMEs must also be straightforward, with less formality, allowing entrepreneurs who may lack legal expertise to participate effectively. Simplified arbitration or mediation models can significantly reduce the procedural burden on SMEs. Fees should be reasonable, with pricing structures that account for the financial constraint of small businesses. Mediation or expedited arbitration, where costs are shared between parties, can help reduce the financial load for SMEs, providing neutral third-party arbitrators or mediators who understand the nuances of the specific business environment can lead to more efficient and practical resolution, avoiding technical misrepresentations. ADR is not only a tool for resolving disputes, but also for preventing them. Since SMEs often lack the extensive legal department services that larger corporations enjoy, they can benefit significantly from proactive ADR measures, such as including effective ADR clauses in contracts. ADR clauses embedded in commercial agreements can provide clear, agreed-upon mechanisms for resolving disputes without resorting to litigation. This preventive measure can avoid prolonged, unnecessary, and high litigation costs when disagreement arises. In addition, ADR centers and chambers of commerce can offer training to entrepreneurs on negotiation, mediation skills, and conflict management. This empowers SME owners and relevant stakeholders to resolve issues early before they escalate into full disputes. One of the main advantages of ADR for SMEs is its ability to provide timely resolutions, unlike court system, where cases may drag on for months or even years. ADR processes like mediation can be effectively resolved. ADR systems like mediation can be effectively resolved on the average within weeks. This allows entrepreneurs to continue focusing on their businesses with minimal disruption. ADR focuses on collaboration, preserving relationships, and finding win-win solutions. Entrepreneurs can continue doing business with their clients or partners even after a dispute is resolved, which is crucial in maintaining long-term partnerships. Businesses owned by women minorities, or businesses operating in remote areas are often overlooked or underrepresented, despite the fact that access to ADR is critical to this category of SMEs. Their access to beneficial initiatives is often hindered by lack of information, awareness, costs, and accessibility issues. Many SMEs are unaware of ADR mechanisms and their potential to resolve disputes quickly and affordably. Even though ADR is generally considered to be less expensive than litigation, some small businesses may still struggle with the costs involved. Access to ADR services is also a challenge in remote or rural areas. To bridge these barriers, stakeholders such as multi-door courthouses, ADR institutions, chambers of commerce, and relevant government agencies need to collaborate to raise awareness about ADR services among underrepresented business communities. Training workshops, webinars, and educational campaigns can demystify the process and inform SMEs of their options. Offering subsidized ADR services or grants in favor of businesses that need it can help remove financial barriers to participation. Creating partnerships with relevant government and non-government organizations to support these initiatives will further boost accessibility. Technology can play a transformative role in making ADR more accessible to SMEs. Online dispute resolution platforms enable parties to resolve disputes without having to meet in person, thereby reducing geographic and financial barriers. Disputes are no doubt inevitable in business, but dispute management has a significant impact on ease of doing business. ADR contributes directly to creating a more business-friendly environment for SMEs. By resolving disputes swiftly through ADR, businesses can avoid prolonged disputes that could hurt productivity and revenue. A functional ADR system improves the overall business environment by instilling confidence in investors and partners that dispute can be resolved amicably without major setbacks. ADR, by its very nature, promotes dialogue and collaboration which results in not only resolving immediate disputes, but also maintaining or even strengthening long-term business relationships, something that litigation often fails to achieve. A strong ADR culture helps attain foreign direct investment, as international investors often prefer the certainty, speed, and neutrality provided by ADR mechanisms. For SMEs looking to expand globally, this can be a decisive factor. At the Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry, the fact that we have a dedicated dispute resolution center has been one of the attractions that draw countries to the chamber. As I stand here, we have a memorandum of understanding with almost all chambers of commerce around the world, and also a number of embassies on strategic business collaboration for mutual gains. The recent enactment of the Arbitration and Mediation Act 2023 is a major step forward in promoting ADR mechanisms. The Act introduces new measures designed to streamline ADR processes and provide a more conducive environment for SMEs to resolve disputes efficiently. This reform highlights the importance of a supportive legal framework in promoting the use of ADR for SMEs and improving the ease of doing business. In conclusion, enhancing access to justice for SMEs is in commercial disputes through quicker and more affordable ADR solutions is not just an aspiration, it is imperative. By embracing these alternatives, we can empower SMEs to resolve disputes efficiently, ensuring their continued growth and success, and sustainably contributing to economic growth and development. I therefore call on all of us to champion the cause of accessible justice and pave the way for a more equitable and prosperous future for our small and medium-sized enterprise. Thank you very much. Chief Emeka Obegolu, SAN, President, Abuja Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you.
I think we can do better than that. Aisha Abdullahi Ado, you've done a very good presentation for us. And I think that the land or the state of aquatic splendor, we should give her a very warm welcome again. And let her know that she's feeling the vibes of Lagos. Thank you very much, Ms. Aisha. I think that Dr. Emeka's paper has touched all the points. It was a Harvard professor of law, I think his name is Frank Sanders, who mooted this idea of having a multi-doorway courthouse, where not only would we have the litigation doorway, but then we would also have other services, such as arbitration, mediation services, all integrated under the same umbrella of the courthouse. And by 2007, Lagos State bought into the idea. Lagos State is the pace setter in this idea of having an integrated service in the courthouse. And I'm so very delighted to learn that this has rolled out to all the other states, and all the other states, practically all 36 of them, have other mediations, other alternate dispute resolution mechanisms integrated into the courthouse so that litigation is not the only avenue for resolving the dispute. So I want to say that we have come a long way. I would also like to use this opportunity to lend my voice to the convener of this program, which for the very first time is bringing all the courthouses together under one umbrella and all the stakeholders involved. So, Honorable Justice Jumoke Pedro, I am hereby congratulating you. But not only that, I'm also congratulating my Chief Judge, Honorable Justice Kazim Olanrewaju Alugba. I'm sure if circumstances allowed, he would have been here today. He's a pace setter. He's a reform-minded Chief Judge, and that's why this, and it's only fitting that this kind of stakeholders event, summit, should start off in Lagos State. And I can say that this being the first, many more is definitely going to roll through. I would also want to say that there is no doubt that small and medium enterprises is the backbone of economic growth in any country, as has been rightly pointed out to us in the paper that was delivered. But by their very nature, SMEs, in terms of their size and their available resources and their experiences, they are very vulnerable to having disputes. They prefer to avoid disputes, and I believe that that was pointed out as well. But you see, you cannot avoid the disputes because disputes is a fact of life. But it is just the management of that dispute that is critical. And so, without wanting to hug, because I'm not sure what the moderator and all the other panelists are going to be saying over there, but I think that the moderator has some critical questions he wants to put to them. But I would just like to say that there is no doubt that we have all come to an agreement that having only litigation is not going to be helpful to the SMEs. And that is because we all know the problems of litigation. Time-consuming, not very user-friendly. You cannot be certain of the outcome. You don't even know the disposition time. It takes forever. So all of this makes it an uphill task for SMEs to scale through. And that is why we're here talking about how to help SMEs, because Nigeria needs her SMEs. It is not the salaried employees like you and I that are making this economy of Nigeria grow. It is the SMEs who are there, who are putting their brains together, who are struggling for their capital, and who are maximizing on their ideas. So they need an avenue, a model by which any disputes that they have, it will get resolved in a timely manner, in a cost-effective manner, in a manner that even the outcome is likely to be more honored than to be breached. And so I would also want to advocate that the time has come where there should be a wholesale embrace of mediation services. I'd like to stop here for now and hand over the microphone to the moderator. Thank you very much.
My Lord, the chairman of the session, thank you very much. Good afternoon. My lords, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I stand on existing protocol. Good afternoon. We've heard a very interesting paper from the speaker on how ADR can provide SMEs with quicker and more affordable access to justice. The sub-theme, which a very distinguished panel of speakers are going to address, is how ADR can be a tool for dispute prevention and dispute resolution for entrepreneurs. My Lord, I bring the greetings and felicitations from Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, who is actually the moderator today. He is the president of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I represent him because there's an event at the chamber right now that he's presiding over. But I happen to be the chairman of the Law and Taxation Committee of the chamber. For those of you who don't know, the LCCI was established in 1888. It's the leading chamber of commerce in Africa. It was founded to promote and develop entrepreneurship, business, and to provide public advocacy. Today we have about 4,000 corporate members, and more importantly, those 4,000 corporate members contribute almost 60% of total industrial output in Nigeria. The 4,000 corporate members are providing 65% or doing 65% of. Those 4,000 members are responsible for 75% of financial transactions in Nigeria. Now, when you situate the Lagos Chamber in Lagos State, and when you think of all the disputes that can come from it, it tells you the importance of the Lagos State Multi-Door Courthouse and the impact which it has and can continue to have on the resolution of disputes. And so I also add my voice in congratulating all the forefathers and all the people who today are responsible for this wonderful initiative. I congratulate you. Many years ago, I listened to Kenny, I know, senior advocate, my learned friend of the Silk. And he's been at this for over 30-something years. I remember many something years ago, the American embassy used to invite us to talk about ADR or to teach us about ADR. And it's amazing that consistently he has continued to battle. But I think the important thing is that he stood here today to say we should start thinking of transformation and stop reforming. And I think as the last panel, I will continue along those lines. We've heard from all the very distinguished panelists before now and all the distinguished speakers before now. What is it? What can it do? How does it do it? Okay? So there's nothing this panel is going to add to that. But the question I ask, looking at the subset, the sub-team, in Nigeria today, is ADR actually effective to prevent disputes? In Nigeria today, is ADR successful in resolving disputes? You heard that Lagos State has over 29,000 cases between January and October. And of those 29,000, 2,900 are before the multi-door courthouse. And 70% of those came from the High Court. But we also heard today that eBay, a private company, deals with over 60 million cases in a year. Think about it. Think about it. One thing we're very good at is putting together the infrastructure, and Kenny mentioned this. We have the laws. We have the institutions. The Lagos Chamber, Abuja Chamber has just talked about the Dispute Resolution Center. But Lagos preceded Abuja. We have LASIAC, the Lagos Chamber of International Commercial Arbitration. I happen to be a director of that. And LASIAC has been in existence since 2002. You have all the arbitral institutions, all the arbitral bodies. Now, some of them have beautiful bricks and mortar. But in reality and in truth, has arbitration, for example, really succeeded in what it's supposed to do? Is it cheaper? Is it faster? Is it more efficacious? You go through a whole process and then enforcement becomes a problem and you start really litigating the matter. The question is, to what extent has ADR succeeded in being a tool for dispute prevention and resolution? And my panelists are going to speak about it. I will start with Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, who is the special advisor to the president on PEBEC and investment. She's represented very ably by Aimea Okpegbolo, who is the senior reform leader at PEBEC. And she's going to share a few thoughts on the impact of ADR on the ease of doing business for SMEs. Madam, over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, the chair of this panel session, my lord here present, standing on already established protocol. First of all, I would like to sincerely tender the apologies of Dr. Jumoke Oduwole for not being here today. She's unavoidably absent, but she has given me the permission to speak on her behalf. Like the moderator of the session has said, a lot has been said here today on ADR. But I will just give a brief background on what we do at PEBEC as it relates to ease of doing business and what we have been able to do in terms of our interventions and how we have been able to incorporate ADR. So, of course, ADR offers a pathway for business owners to assess speedy resolution of commercial disputes without depleting their resources as it has been stated here. But for us at the Presidential Enabling Business Environment, our mandate is to remove bureaucratic and legislative bottlenecks to doing business in Nigeria, and also to improve the perception about ease of doing business in Nigeria. And how do we do this? By reducing the time, cost, and cumbersome procedures in starting and running a business, and also increasing efficiency. I will not just bore us with the statistics that have been given concerning MSMEs and the role of MSMEs, how they create jobs and also contribute to the GDP of the nation. But one of the ways that we have used to reduce time and cost to doing business is through our judicial intervention, and that is to provide quick and easy, affordable access of justice and resolution of commercial disputes for MSMEs through the Small Claims Court. I know we've all heard about the Small Claims Court. This is one of our interventions at the PEBEC, and we started with Lagos State, always being the pioneer state and the pace setter. Yes, in 2018, we collaborated with the Lagos State Judiciary on the establishment of Small Claims Courts. And so far, we have been able to drive that reform, that particular reform, through the establishment of Small Claims Court in 33 states of the Federation. And we are still chasing the remaining states to establish Small Claims Court. And just to say, with our statistics that we have gathered from the states, we have had over 40,000 cases resolved in the Small Claims Court. Just to deepen these reforms at the subnational level, we also have a program we are running with the World Bank. It's a co-design program to incentivize and to strengthen and incentivize the operationalization of small claims courts and all other business enabling reforms. And through the disbursement linked indicator, one of the SABRE program, that is the quick determination of commercial disputes. This ensures the establishment and operationalization of small claims courts in the state. Now, the role of PEBEC in promoting ADRO for MSMEs or SMEs is that we recognize the fact that SMEs need liquidity to function optimally and to contribute to the growth of, or to contribute to GDP in Nigeria. And therefore, trapping their funds in litigation is highly discouraged. So in working with state judiciaries on the establishment of small claims courts within their magistracy, we have been able to see that cases have been reduced from the dockets of the High Court over simple commercial disputes. And this is as a result of the key features of the small claims court in this regard, like relaxing the application of rules of evidence, timely disposition of cases, self-representation, and adhering to strict timelines. One of the key features is also the use of alternative dispute resolutions. In our engagement with states, we ensure that in their practice directions, they empower the small claims court magistrates to mediate, and in that process, they do not go into the merits of the case, but narrow down the issues and encourage parties to resolve them. And a lot of states have come back to tell us that these ADRO processes have also helped in reducing the number of cases that go to trial in the small claims court. So we also insist on having in the practice direction the requirement of a demand letter on the defendant as a precondition to accepting a case at the small claims court. And we also recommend that the magistrate should encourage and facilitate amicable settlement of parties by providing settlement options. So these are one of the ways we drive our reforms to ensure that SMEs are able to assess or recover their monies quickly if they go through these ADRO processes and the cases are settled. Just recently, last week, we were at the Commercial Court of Lagos State. We were on a working visit to the Commercial Court of Lagos State. Also, because we are having a new program, the PEBEC Business Champions, which we're supporting large firms. We're supporting large firms and in their regulatory and other legislative issues. We had to pay a visit to the Lagos State Judiciary to see how their commercial courts operate. And the intention is also to replicate these courts at the state, at the subnationals, especially in the subnationals that have commercial cities and all that. So these are ways that the PEBEC has been, driving reforms, especially using ADRs to resolve commercial disputes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Okpebolo, for that and for explaining how PEBEC is intervening at the subnational level. After we've gone around, we'll have some follow-up questions. But let me now invite Mrs. Bukola Smith, who is the Managing Director of FSDH Merchant Bank. She's going to talk about reducing barriers to ADR participation for underrepresented businesses. Now, I must confess, I was a bit confused about that. I'm wondering if the businesses are underrepresented or the owners of the businesses are the ones that have different issues of representation. But I'm sure she's going to clarify that and talk to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, moderator, and good evening to the distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations again, Chairperson, for this very, very innovative idea. I'm particularly happy to be here today because in the work I do, there's a lot of interaction with SMEs. And like has been said, SMEs are really the engine of our society. So if we want growth in Nigeria, we have to support the SMEs. And I do find that a lot of times the SMEs are underrepresented. SMEs are ignored, and we tend to look not only in this space, but generally, we tend to look more at the large businesses. So I'm glad that we are giving the attention that is required to them. So in part of what SMEs actually require, and I know when we talk about dispute resolution, we talk about ADR, I wonder sometimes whether we have created enough awareness about the work that is being done. And I did do a bit of a sample check with some of the SMEs, and surprisingly, a number of them didn't even know that they had this opportunity to represent their cases, at the ADR windows. So I think one of the first things I would like us to do more on is even to create greater awareness about these alternative dispute resolution options that SMEs have. I sit as chairperson of the Ethics and Professionalism Committee of the Bankers Committee. And in that space, we resolve a number of issues from a financial point of view between SMEs and their banks. And it's also helping them to resolve disputes. And they can, a lot of times, we quickly resolve these cases, and they get their monies refunded in a number of cases. And I think that creating significant publicity around ADR will be something that we require to do. Another point around that awareness is also around mentoring. We need to even get businesses that have benefited from the ADR, case studies that have proven to be good, shared across other SMEs so that they understand that this is actually something that is trustworthy, because there's also some issue around trust. Do they actually trust that this mediation, these interventions would actually, profit them? And would their confidentiality be kept, which is an issue that a number of them also contend with. I would also like to suggest that for the SMEs, improved access to these ADRs, to the various ADR channels is important. And in doing this, I actually came across some other country like India and the options that they have for community ADRs and also for mobile ADRs. And I think that might be something that we should also be considering. And I was looking at the case, when I hear the number of cases that have been resolved, well done, congratulations, but I think there is still a lot more to be done. India is talking about 20 million cases that have been resolved. Yes, they've been in existence for longer than us, but we should move from the thousands to millions. And that way, it will mean that we are actually resolving a lot more cases and faster. So that's another thing that I would like. I've talked about the issue of trust. We also need, diversity. And the guest speaker, when she were talked about interventions for women. We need to have, especially, I know that we're speaking maybe now only about Lagos, but across the country and even within Lagos too, in those, we need to have some more diversity, not only gender diversity, we need to also have language, diversity. And I know that one of the speakers earlier on had talked about the fact that you should have different people with different experiences and exposures, and also in terms of cultural issues. So we need to have a lot of diversity that would help. One last thing I will say before I pause would be we need to have a feedback mechanism. We need to check, again to your point, are we actually impactful? I think we are impactful, but more can be done. So it would be great to get feedback from these SMEs to actually determine whether we're actually giving them the solutions that they require and what more can be done. So I would suggest that we also do that to get feedback on improvement areas that we probably need to still incorporate. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Very quick and clear and straight to the point. And a great segue for Mrs. Lua Fumilayo Eric Shobunkola, who is going to talk about tailoring. Forgive me if I've murdered your name. tailoring ADR services to meet the needs of small and medium-sized enterprises. What specific challenges do the SMEs face when engaging with traditional ADR processes? How can these services be better suited, as the last speaker has just said, to meet the challenges that they face? Please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Standing on all existing protocol, my Lord, the chairperson of this panel, I'm very excited to actually be here this afternoon. And when I got the invitation, the first word that came to my head was a long overdue conversation. Because I think for quite a while, the SMEs have been overlooked as part of the drivers that should be benefiting from ADR as it is. And even as much as I'm going to talk about how to tailor ADR for the SMEs, a lot has been mentioned in terms of the benefits of the ADR. And I liked when Mrs. Smith mentioned that work has to be done in terms of education, awareness. Now at LSETF, as a business support driver at LSETF, in case of, for the benefit of those that do not know, LSETF is Lagos State Employment Trust Fund. Our mandate is to enable job creation, and we cannot do this if we do not support the business ecosystem. So we do everything as a driver of upscaling and expanding in the business ecosystem. And I will say from my perspective that the awareness, as we have a lot of work to be done. Here at LSETF, we actually do more of advisory sessions. And part of the advisory sessions that we have is legal regulation, and ADR is part of what we promote. And what I have found out in the space of time is that a lot of businesses do not even know about ADR, first and foremost. So when you talk about it, they are like, so what exactly is it? Then another point would be that, oh, I cannot afford it. Then you have to educate them on the fact that it is affordable. But then if we're talking about the fact that it is affordable, we need to also look at the businesses at the bottom of the pyramids. What if it is affordable for the SMEs and not affordable for the nano, MES and ME, who are the micro enterprises, and the very driver, and they are the ones that we're talking about when we say that they underrepresented. We actually stop using under the pyramid, just so that they do not feel like they are totally excluded, just to make that point. I would say that while we are educating them, that point where we said community, I'm starting my career as a mediator myself. I understand that a lot has gone into that because I actually worked as a mediator at CMC, that's Citizens Mediation Center, and I know a lot of work went into that space of resolving community disputes. And trust me that we also now need to introduce the fact that, one, SMEs can also do a walk-in and know that these are options that are available for them. Why do we need to let them know this? We need to let them understand how simplified the process of ADR is, and the fact that there is an option of ODR as well, so that they do not think it's going to take up the whole of their time, which should be spent on their business or in their business spaces. We also need to tailor industry-specific, solutions, because they differ. While we have the nano, we would be thinking of community. We also have the SMEs who would not want their identity to be known. We also have industry-based, different industries with specific. But one beautiful thing about ADR that most people do not know is the fact that they are experts in various fields. That is what I love about ADR. You don't necessarily have to be a lawyer to be, a mediator or work as work in the ADL space. And that is also what we need to push out there for the SMEs, the benefit available for them, and then the fact that they have different expertise in various industry-specific field that they can actually harness and use for themselves. We also do need to drive a lot in terms of accessibility. Now, why I said accessibility is that I know very well that Lagos, for sure, is doing a lot. While we have the multi-door courthouse, I also know that we have Citizens Mediation Center, and I know that we have OPD and also different, private firms doing what we have in the ADL. But a lot still needs to be done in other states across in Nigeria, so that while we are driving this force in Lagos, we carry along everyone. And that thought that the future of ADR is just very close by can be what we drive in for everyone to see and not just for Lagos to see. So I'll take a pause now and maybe take some other question. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. A wonderful overview of what you're doing and the context in which what you're doing is important. Ladies and gentlemen, we go back to the subtopic, ADR as a tool. A tool is only as good as what the operators are using it for. Can ADR as a tool actually work in an environment that doesn't have a just culture? Can ADR as a tool, no matter the benefits, will it be effective in a situation where, for example, I'm a commercial lawyer and sometimes you see some people who actually right from the beginning of a business are already planning for disputes. Not planning in a positive way, but they are creating disputes. Can ADR, for example, when we talk of entrepreneurs and SMEs and the challenges which Nigerian SMEs face, I was looking at the public debt this morning, and as of September, the federal government of Nigeria is owing businesses, or the domestic debt is 61 trillion, and the states subnationals are owing 4 trillion. Most of this money is owed to businesses. Contracts have been awarded, services have been provided. Is ADR going to solve that problem? When you look at the ecosystem, my Lord, Madam Chair, in which SMEs operate, there is great inequality of power. So you have this small business dealing with banks, dealing with the IOCs, most importantly, dealing with government, with the public sector. And when there's a dispute, there is just no balance. How will ADR as a tool help them, even if they are aware and even if they've accessed? How? The reality, ladies and gentlemen, as my friend Kenny said, is that it's time to start thinking aloud. In a situation where basically, and whether we like it or not, you have state capture. Certain organizations, certain institutions are using the instrumentality of state, especially with this current revenue drive. Everybody's looking for money. As a lawyer, if you look into most laws now, you have penal clauses to deal with what should be purely civil commercial disputes. You have a situation where agencies of government that are supposed to deal with fraud, etc., turn into tax collectors. Now, as an SME, who do you carry that dispute to? And how do you use ADR to solve those problems? Professor Shibaju talked about freedom from justice. And so the few concluding remarks from each of my panelists, it's giving those thoughts. To what extent do you think ADR can be a positive tool, and in whose hands? Just your last comments before I hand over to my Lord the Chair. Starting with you.
Okay. Thank you. when we paint pictures like that, it seems like all is all lost. But I like to pick things and in small bits and see the impact. And again, speaking from the banking industry, I mentioned the example of what we had. So we identified this issue you raised to say that SMEs were really, really challenged and maybe people were not really listening to them. That's why we set up this ethics committee. So from the banking perspective, we have that mediation where they can then come in, present their case, and they trust the system enough to know that they will get the right outcomes. Sometimes it doesn't always favor them because when you look at the case, the merits of the case, you have to then decide based on that. But I can tell you that out of 10 cases that we look at, and we look at cases on a monthly basis, 6 to 7 out of those cases, 6 cases, are in favor of the SMEs. And we then find that banks have to refund money to them. So I think it's working in that regard. And if every area, has this kind of open and foolproof intervention, SMEs will get right responses. So I know that there are many issues we have in our country, but if everyone takes the bit that is theirs and handle it, righteously, I would say, the way it should be done, then we'll begin to find solutions for a number of issues. So I believe there is a lot of hope. Work is being done, and I believe that we just have to continue doing it and not give up. And everyone in the ADL space must know that a number of these SMEs are relying on them, trusting that they will make the right decisions and will not be allowed themselves to be captured either by state or by any other area. The last thing I would like to say will be on partnerships and collaboration. It's very important, and when I speak on partnership and collaboration, still going back to the training and learning that is required. In the banking industry, again, I think that there is room for us to partner with the multi-door for sensitization and awareness. We see a lot of the SMEs by virtue of what we do. What we've done with FIRS, for instance, is that we organize joint trainings to educate them on their requirements. So I think that if there's that kind of partnership also, it would also help to promote the work that is being done and also hopefully help to build the confidence that is required. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would also say for us at PEBEC Secretariat, we see ADR as a tool, as an effective tool to promote ease of doing business. I will just give, like when we had the small claims court set up in Abuja in the Federal Capital Territory, some of the testimonials we got was that litigants did not even need to go to court. They just had their cases resolved and they came back and they were asking, why is this just coming to FCT? And they didn't know about it. Another thing is, when we are assessing judges in terms of, magistrates in terms of their performance reporting, we see in our interrogations, we see that a lot of cases did not have to go through full trial. So I think there's hope, it can be used, and awareness is key. Awareness is also key, and it will also, it's also essential to, deepen this at the subnational level. Lagos is doing very well, but other subnationals need to key into all this. So I think it is effective. Thank you.
Thank you very much. While we understand that challenges are paramount, we can't run away from it. And we also agree that disputes will come up. We also need to know that the way out of disputes shouldn't always be through litigation and then we run away from ADR as an alternative. There's going to be a lot of dispute that will come up as an SME person or as a business owner franchise disputes, regulatory compliance, intellectual property, and customer service, to mention a few. But the most important thing is that we understand that these challenges would arise, and we understand the uniqueness of these challenges that will be faced or that would come up. But then we need to also promote the fact that enterprises should work on work on targeted strategies. And this is not just the enterprise, this also calls for action for governments. It also calls for action for multi-door courthouse. It also a call for action for my honorable judges in the House, that we all need to work on those targeted strategies that we can create to enable an environment where dispute really becomes a thing that can be efficiently efficiently resolved, and that can foster relationships. Because a lot of business owners, I want to see in that future where I go through contract MOUs and I do not see litigation, rather I see mediation or arbitration. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, panel. I'm happy that each and every one of you has ended on a positive note. We all have a choice. Your cup can be half full or your cup can be half empty. It's up to you to decide where you want to be. I have a friend who has a favorite saying. He says, a Nigerian pessimist is an optimist with experience. That all you need is to get some experience. But having said that, we all also believe that we are the change that we all want to see. And so I thank you, my panelists. And I want to conclude, my Lord, before I hand over to you. As senior practitioners, as the bar, we recognize and appreciate the very onerous tasks which our judges and our judiciary have to do, the circumstances under which they work, the conditions under which they work, the society in which they're working. And we must say that we applaud many, many, many of them for their industry, for their diligence. And it's at opportunities like this that we need to say it publicly. The bar is out there to protect the judiciary, but the judiciary also has to protect itself. And I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. My Lord Chair, thank you very much. Man.
Thank you very much, especially that final comment, and that is deeply appreciated. But generally speaking, I think since the beginning of this program, we have all come to the realization that the litigation model is incapable of providing all the answers, especially to sustaining and encouraging our SMEs. And there's no doubt about it that we have all agreed again that the ADR model is much better, it's effective, and I would even go further to say it's in fact, because there are different types of ADR models, but it's the mediation model that I really want to throw out there as being of paramount importance. And I would also like to add that as Africans, it's in our DNA. We are culturally attuned to ADR. This is something we were born with. We judge, we talk, we discuss, we come to a consensus, we push back, we negotiate, we, throw a tantrum, and then we come back to it. So that at the end of the day, we come up with a solution that is good for A and that B can also live with. So, long and short of what we have been saying from the beginning of this program is that ADR has come to stay. The journey of 1,000 miles, they say it always begins with one step. We have already taken that first step. We are having the first annual summit. And I think everybody in this room should give itself a round of applause. I also want to say that there is no doubt about it, that we still have a long way to go. But these are still early days, and we will get there. So we should always have a positive mindset in everything that we are doing. At this stage, I believe we may have some questions from the floor for our panelists, and I believe you just raise your hand, and once you are called upon, just tell us your name, tell us your affiliation, and ask your question. If it is a comment, it's the same. Just raise your hand, you'll be identified, and you tell us your affiliation and make your comment. I believe we do not have much time. It's been a long day for everybody, and we have just about 10 minutes to go before we finish up for the day. So if there are any questions to my left, to my right, just raise your hand, and you will definitely be called upon so that the panelists can have an opportunity to answer your concerns. Thank you. All right, I think the previous sessions, first session, second session, third session, they've done a good job. Everybody is well attuned. And I think that the lunch break has also made everybody more or less, we've been here for quite some time. If there are no questions, I'll take it that everything is on course. We're all very good. And I'd like to bring this session to an end.
Thank you very much to the last panel for the day. I think we've done a very good job today. Round of applause, everyone, please. So we have a communique, just as Mr. Kende, I know, has said. It's a very brief one. Mr. Kende, I know, had mentioned we should create a committee, but the chairman of council had particularly mentioned that this communique should be read. I have the permission of the chairman of council to take a few notes, and then a committee will be set up to carry forward the communique and make sure that today is, taken forward and is impactful, which indeed it has been. So the communique has been done in such a way that for each segment, the team, please, we must thank the team working on this document. Please give a round of applause to the communique team. Thank you for today. The key takeaways from the welcome remarks, for instance, it is clear that the duty of ADR lies in its flexibility, which can be tailored to the needs of disputants in commercial disputes. That's one key takeaway from the welcome remarks. The takeaway from the opening remarks is that there is a need to ensure participation and interaction between the judiciary and legal practitioners to enhance the advancement of ADR. And that is the judiciary saying it is not only judiciary's responsibility, but the judiciary is going to be working with the bar to ensure that ADR is taken forward. And that's from the welcome remarks. From the CJN, we have a major statement that the LMDC forms, and not just in Lagos Multi-Door, all multi-doors and court-annexed mediation centers form a fundamental component of a modern legal system, integrating technology into ADR processes and the mandatory referral of cases to ADR centers. And it is important to enhance the overall efficiency of the justice system using such multi-door systems. So we're going to be building on this profound statement that has been made by a CJN. From the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister for Justice, a key takeaway is that he said the ADR is a valuable tool in resolving disputes, and the multi-door courthouses are key for socio-economic development. He stated that access to justice is not just a privilege, but a fundamental right. And by promotion of ADR, the society becomes advocates, or it's an advocate that promotes resolution of commercial disputes, amongst others. The Attorney General of the Federation also mentioned the need to build capacity and the fact that the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister for Justice is going to be working on capacity building in the sector of ADR. Please give that a round of applause, please. For the first panel session, a key takeaway from the first panel session is the fact that we are going to have to develop systems around technology because it is clear that technology enhances ADR practices and that AI provides exciting opportunities for ADR. So the focus of this panel is that there are endless possibilities in the ADR sector and in AI and ODR, and institutions like the multi-door courthouses and ADR centers and all other dispute resolution practitioners have to key into this AI and ODR, so we need to build systems around it. That's for the first panel. For the second panel, a key takeaway for the second panel, let me just go down to that, is that ADR is an informal process, yes, and that parties can determine when, how, and when to resolve their disputes. And this is fundamental to designing systems going forward. We need to design systems on how to make it easier for parties to determine when, how, and where they want their disputes to be resolved. So this panel is saying we need to encourage ADR and promote it, so a lot of capacity building and sensitization is required. Despite how far we've come, we still need so much more in terms of sensitization. They are also saying arbitration clauses should be well structured. This speaks to training also, and that training in ADR of chief judges of various states of the Federation should be done. Amazing. That came from that panel, so there should be training for judges. That's for that panel. The third panel is saying the key takeaway is that the judiciary as a business, if analyzed, will be out of business, and that the multi-door courthouse should be made part of the judiciary. Multi-door courthouse is connected, yes, but should be more integrated with the judiciary such that cases can flow right out a lot more quickly. And it's saying that solutions must precede challenges. The NMDC and multi-door courthouses should be placed and structured well at international levels. Yeah, this is major. To be a gateway to showcase Nigeria and Africa at large. So we need to begin to develop systems. We've heard about expanding our arbitration panels to include international arbitrators, international arbitrators, right? So that's a key gateway that we can get in for the multi-door courthouses and ADR centers. And then the last panel has said to us that SMEs are the engine of the society, and that this is a novel approach, and that despite all the work that has been done so far, SMEs are still not aware. So that's a lot of need for sensitization. We need to encourage adoption of ADR by SMEs, creating webinars to publicize ADR, creating partnerships with SMEs, creating significant publicity around ADR, and everyone should champion the cause of accessible justice. So this is just key takeaways. There's so much more in this document. It's over 9 pages. We're going to be working on this going forward. Thank you very much to everyone. I'd like to call forward at this point Mr. Sheyi Katola. Please give him a round of applause as he comes forward. He is the member of the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse Governing Council. He's coming to give us the vote of thanks. Mr. Katola, please.
The chairman of Lagos State Multi-Door Courthouse, Honorable Justice Jumoke Pedro. I would like to stand also on the existing protocols. I think my takeaway, I want to sum up all that we have done here. And I say it's greater relief, providing greater relief across board to all stakeholders. Disputants or business people, they can see the benefits and relief that they will get approaching ADR to resolve their disputes. The councils also see that they're going to save time and also create more time to handle some other things. Justices to also lighten the burden. I also would like to appreciate the contributions of the Honorable Justice, the Chief Justice of the Federation, for our remarks and our goodwill message, and for assuring us of widening the deployment of ADR in facilitating justice in Nigeria. I would also like to appreciate and thank the Honorable Justice Kazim O. Alugba, the Chief Judge of Lagos State, for our judiciary leadership and for our vision and unflinching support and the entire leadership of the Lagos State Judiciary. I would also like to thank the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice for his keynote speech and for promising to strengthen the legal framework to ease the embrace of ADR by all parties. Let me also appreciate the LMDC Governing Council for their time, commitment, and sacrifice, and for promotion of ADR. I would also want to appreciate all the Chief Justices who are here present, and for also sending delegates to attend this session. I recognize representatives from the Honorable Chief Justice of Akwa Ibom State, represented by Honorable Justice Edem Akman. You are most appreciated. Honorable Chief Judge of Rivers State, represented by Honorable Justice Florence Fiberesima. The Acting Chief Registrar of Lagos State Judiciary, Mr. Teslim Elias, you are appreciated. The Director, Rivers State Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, Ogun State Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, Ogun State Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, Akwa Ibom Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, Bayelsa State Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, Abuja Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, Niger State Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, Delta State Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, Plateau State Multi-Door Courthouse, Director, National Industrial Court ADR Center, the NBA Chairman Lagos, Mr. Olabisi Makojola, the NBA Chairman, Mr. M.A. Sani, the neutrals of the Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse, those are the angel rooms who make things happen in ADR. The management and staff of Lagos Multi-Door Courthouse, we appreciate you, gentlemen of the press. We also want to appreciate our sponsors who have provided us with the oil with which we are able to settle things down here. And on this, we want to appreciate the gold sponsors, Lagos State Government, the Tantina Security Services Limited, First Bank, Internal Revenue Service of Lagos State, Lotus Bank, NDIC, MISA Limited, Alliance Law Firm, Zenith Bank, Garpin, Union Bank, GTB. And we also want to identify or appreciate the distinguished individual sponsors, Messrs. Yusuf Ishaku and Mr. Francis Olege. I am thanking everyone for our time here. It's been a long day, and in Wazobia Palace, we'll say Dalu, we'll say Nagode, we'll say Eshiumpupo. In Idoma, they will say Anya, Nei, Nei. In French, they will say Merci beaucoup. Universally, we will applaud ourselves and say thank you. Can we give ourselves a round of applause? Thank you.